attack. Tuesday, President Trump said Iran had given him a present worth a tremendous amount of money. He didn't elaborate on what the gift was, but said it's a sign they're dealing with the right people. As for the framework of the current negotiations, here's what President Trump had to say.
It all starts with they cannot have a nuclear weapon, just a nuclear weapon, and we're talking about that. And I don't want to say in advance, but they've agreed they will never have a nuclear weapon. They've agreed to that.
Iranian officials are reportedly worried that the United States is buying time before more intense operations. But the president has indicated Vice President J.D. Vance would participate in the talks aimed at ending the war. U.S. and Israeli strikes have continued over the past 24 hours, putting new pressure on the Iranian regime. And overnight, Iran launched more barrages of ballistic missiles toward Israel. One of the cluster munitions landed in a religious community just outside of Tel Aviv, wounding at least 9 people.
The Iranians plan to launch hundreds of missiles towards Israel on the first day of the operation. They fired fewer than 100 on the first day and half that amount on the second day. We disrupted these intentions and continue to disrupt them. The number of launches decreased very quickly. The average is roughly about 10 missiles per day.
Campaign that we have reached maximum leverage so that we can enter into these talks?
Yeah, good morning, Carly. I think they've been significantly weakened into the point where they could want to enter these talks out of self-preservation because they know based on our current actions and, of course, how Israel has operated since October 7th massacre, then that we're going to continue with negotiations. We're going to continue to talk to them the best we can. However, what we're not going to do is cease operations or go into ceasefires in order to allow them to rebuild or take a break. I certainly hope that they take this opportunity to reach a meaningful deal potentially that could end the hostilities. But Iran is typically not a very trustworthy player in this arena. So we'll see how it plays out. But they have lost a significant amount of military capability and leverage themselves while we just continue to build our own.
Yeah, so to that point, on the one hand, we're talking about diplomacy, but on the other, the Pentagon has deployed between 2,000 and 3,000 soldiers from the 82nd Airborne that are expected to arrive in the region on Friday, which coincides with President Trump's deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. If that doesn't happen, if the strait does not open on Friday, what would their mission be?
Difficult to tell with the formation of that size. It's not as many people as a lot of folks would think when it comes to a military formation that can hold a lot of ground. With them, I can see something along the lines of a use for them on controlling some area on Karg Island, or some of the smaller islands in the Strait of Hormuz that are strategically located to allow ships to flow through there, but prevent land use for things like drones, smaller missiles, or other things that might interdict oil shipping and ships that try to go through there and increase their risk. So I don't see them doing something rather large. It's not that many people, but the 82nd is extraordinarily capable and flexible with doing a number of missions.
Yeah, would one of those missions be boots on the ground? That Iran gave the U.S. a present worth a tremendous amount of money having to do with oil in the Strait of Hormuz. Do you have any thoughts on what he could have been referring to?
Yeah, no, that's a difficult one, and I'm sure it's why he's holding it close. But it could be as simple as that we're opening it back up to, I guess what they describe as hostile nations again, be able to move their oil through there. But it could just be something that none of us are anticipating, that they're trying to use to regain some of their own leverage against us in these negotiations also, and put something on the table right away. So it's hard to tell right now what exactly that could be. There's a number of.
It was quite the soundbite, a tremendous amount of money and a present that was sent on Monday and arrived on Tuesday. Finally, I think another question that needs to be asked is what the ultimate goal would be. If we do enter in these diplomatic talks, would the most positive outcome be for the Iranian people to still rise up for total regime control? Or are we working with a group of people now where not just in the immediate days, but for years to come, the United States could work with? Israel intercepting Iranian strikes overnight as the Islamic regime continues its missile barrage on the region.
But President Trump says Iran might want to make a deal to end the fighting. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey.
Todd, Carly, rising from the horizon. We just returned from this scene where first responders were removing debris and rubble. This was a direct impact, according to police, and there was a 220-pound warhead on top of the missile that caused the damage that you see here. There were some interceptions overnight across central Israel as Israel's advanced air defense system worked to shoot down the incoming fire. The Israelis and the Americans are striking back, hitting the heart of the regime in Tehran and other locations, going after many of the storage facilities for these ballistic missiles. You can see in some of this video over the weekend that was released by U.S. Central Command. All of this coming as President Trump says those diplomatic efforts are playing out, and he's giving the Iranian regime 5 days to come to terms for a deal. Take a listen.
We're giving it 5 days, and then we're going to see where that takes us. And I would say at the end of this period, I think it could very well end up being a very good deal for everybody, as good as if we went all the way and just literally annihilated the place, which if we don't have to do that, that would be a good thing, not a bad thing.
The Iranians have pushed back, saying that talks aren't taking place, but reports indicate there are conversations happening. You can see some video here in Tehran, the aftermath of those U.S. and Israeli strikes that continue to pressure the Islamic regime. As this is continuing, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also speaking out about the possibility of a deal.
Earlier today, I spoke with our friend, President Trump. President Trump believes there is a possibility to leveraging the mighty achievements obtained by the Israeli Defense Forces and the U.S. military in order to realize the goals of the war in a deal that will preserve our vital interests.
It's clear that President Trump wants to give the Iranian regime yet another chance to come to the negotiating table and make serious concessions. If they don't, there are more U.S. forces on the way to the region and more options for the president. Todd Carly.
Trey Yingst live for us in Israel this morning. Trey, thank you. Let's bring in Powerus founder and former Army Special Ops Intel analyst Brett Velicovich. Brett, on the one hand, we have CENTCOM confirming more than 9,000.
These strikes have done has brought our allies closer and closer. Groups that normally would remain neutral are tired of taking Shahed strikes every single night and seeing their tourist centers bombed. Iran's terror empire, in my opinion, is on borrowed time. The mullahs, they've been misfiring. They've tried to sow chaos in the region. Their spokesmen are being silenced forever, and America and its allies are about to end this once and for all.
And now the question becomes, not only who are you negotiating with, but how many different groups are you negotiating with? You've got the secular, you've got the religious factions. Really, the common person like you and I doesn't really know who's in charge. Hopefully, the White House is negotiating with somebody who can actually end this. But to your point, Brett, we will see. Brett Velicovich, as always, a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all news latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on